Back to the business in Washington, the Senate rejected two measures that would have blocked $675 million worth of bombs and firearms to Israel, but with a growing number of Democrats supporting the resolutions. They're proposed by independent Senator Bernie Sanders, who wants to stop the sale of bombs and assault rifles to Israel. While both measures were voted down, the first resolution did receive 27 votes in favor, 25 of which came from Democrats. The other two yes votes were from Sanders and fellow independent Senator Angus King. Richard Haass, what do you make of this vote that it passed, but it didn't pass, it was stopped, but at least 27 members of the United States Senate, a quarter more, are saying we need to stop and talk about what's happening inside Gaza right now?
Well, Willie, it's part of a larger conversation. We're seeing it with that. We're seeing it in Europe. With the French and British positions that come September, they're going to independently, unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. Now Canada is saying it will do the same thing. Essentially, Israel is forfeiting the high ground. It's obviously a combination of the pictures of hungry young people, the lack of food aid and humanitarian aid getting into Gaza, also the use of force. Probably now close to 60,000 people have been killed in Gaza. And even if you say 20,000 were Hamas fighters, that still leaves 40,000 people, 35,000 people who weren't. Plus, this 2 million population has now been forced into 25% of Gaza's territory. So essentially, there is a humanitarian crisis. Israel is at least partially, if not wholly, but partially responsible for it. And what we're beginning to see is the change in international public thinking about Israel. And Israel has to be careful here. In the United States, you do not want this issue of Israeli support to become a totally partisan issue. And second, more broadly, Israel doesn't want to make itself the pariah. And I think there's a warning here. And the real question is, will this reverberate in Israeli politics? So far, not, but I think it should.
Part of that warning came yesterday, as you mentioned, from Canada, which now plans to recognize the state of Palestine during the UN General Assembly in September. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney made that announcement yesterday. It comes one day after the United Kingdom said it would do the same, barring a ceasefire in Gaza. Last week, French President Emmanuel Macron said his country also will recognize Palestine. President Trump's special envoy to the Middle East is said to travel to Israel to discuss the crisis in Gaza today. Overnight, President Trump posted on social media that Canada's support for Palestinian statehood would make it very hard for the U.S. to make a trade deal with Canada, Joe.
Yeah, the two aren't connected, and they shouldn't be connected. When you have John Heilman, of course, you still have many of Israel's Netanyahu's, I'll say, staunchest defenders, still claiming there's nothing to see here, move along, and we are seeing some of that. The fact is, you have the International Red Cross talking about all the deaths, talking about the horrific conditions there, talking about the famine or near famine conditions that are there right now. You have Israeli human rights groups that are aggressively speaking out against what's going on in Gaza. And yes, there are the pictures. There's not the reporting that we should have coming from there, because Israel's army will not allow reporters in a lot of these areas. So what they do then is they say, well, there's no reporting of this, so it's all fabricated by Hamas. No, it's not fabricated by Hamas. These are reports from the International Red Cross, the United Nations. And again, as I said, even Israeli groups are now talking about the horrific conditions that the Palestinians are living in right now. And as we look to the vote in the Senate, those are more votes than any of us would have ever counted before, would ever expect. But I think more importantly for Israel and for people who have supported Israel their entire life, such as myself, you need to look at the numbers. You need to look at where younger Americans are. I grew up in the church and just with an innate belief that Israel had a right to exist and that Israel was America's staunchest ally in the Middle East, and we always needed to stand shoulder to shoulder with Israel. That's what the majority of Americans have believed throughout our lifetimes. That is changing with younger Americans. And the images that are coming out of Gaza right now are poison to Israel's long-term strength and standing not only across the world, but especially in the United States, its staunchest, longest ally.
Yeah, and I think, Joe, I was talking yesterday to David Miliband from the International Rescue Committee, and he, said that on the basis of what he hears on a daily basis from IRC aid workers who are over there trying to distribute humanitarian aid, that it's very clear that Benjamin Netanyahu's claims that the reason that there is the humanitarian aid isn't getting through is because it's being stolen or diverted by Hamas are, if not entirely untrue, largely untrue, and that the solution of dropping aid from the air is creating more problems. If there is any diversion happening by Hamas, it makes it more likely for it to be diverted when you drop it from the air, and also causes chaos on the ground, a lot of injuries among people scrambling for that food aid that it gets through. That from Miliband's point of view, you got to lift this blockade and let accredited humanitarian aid groups get through. And when that was true during the ceasefire earlier this year, the problems that we're seeing on the ground now, this kind of horrific, appalling starvation conditions, they went away. When aid was allowed to go through, the ceasefire was happening, the hunger was manageable. Now it's not, and I will say, we had David Remnick on the show earlier this week, I should say, and the striking thing is, as David pointed out, is voices from inside Israel, credible voices, people from within the Israeli security services and within the military, and the former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert, who are starting to use words like genocide and like war crimes around a policy that looks to them like intentional starvation of civilians in this conflict, and that is, to your point, robs Israel of moral authority and is going to be a huge political problem for it already, but certainly an increasing one down the line.
So right now we know that President Trump has told people he's been really bothered by some of the images he's seen come out of Gaza in recent days of malnourished, starving children. We know the president's sometimes very impacted by occasions the images he sees of gruesome images, Ukraine and the like. But Susan Page, there's been no meaningful accompanying change of U.S. policy yet towards Israel. In fact, last night, President Trump made clear he's not willing to take the step that the UK, France, and Canada have done in recognizing a Palestinian state. But there is some concern that people I've talked to in D.C. the last couple of days in the Trump universe about how this is another issue where he seems a little out of step with some of the MAGA base. No doubt, Republican support of Israel has been steadfast for a long time. It's GOP orthodoxy. But others in MAGA world, more the isolationist wing, are like, we don't want the U.S. involved in another foreign entanglement. And they're seeing this humanitarian crisis and feel like some sort of change might be needed. Combine that with the vote we saw yesterday, it seems like the political calculus here is changing in D.C.
Yeah, I think that's right. We've seen President Trump really install on domestic terms the MAGA agenda he talked about during the campaign. That has not been the case on several of the big foreign policy issues, including Ukraine, where we see a shift in the attitude toward Russia to the surprise of many. We see the willingness of President Trump to be involved in disputes around the world, including the border battles between Cambodia and Thailand. That was not something I think we could have predicted. And now we're looking at what's happened with Israel. No one has been a stauncher ally of Israel than Donald Trump and of Benjamin Netanyahu, an ally of Benjamin Netanyahu. So does he take the cue from some foreign leaders, our allies in Canada and Great Britain and France, to take stronger action that sends a message to Netanyahu and to Israel that what's happening in Gaza is unacceptable? That is not something we would have predicted Donald Trump would be doing, but I think it is possible that we are going to see Trump move in some ways to try to put some pressure on Israel to take care of this humanitarian catastrophe that we see unfolding there.
And Willie, though it doesn't seem proper to be talking about the politics of this situation for Donald Trump. Certainly people inside the White House calculate that every day, like they do inside every White House. And the fact is, there's not a massive political downside for Donald Trump stepping out and speaking out against Netanyahu and what's going on there, despite the fact that Donald Trump has often said he's Israel's best ally, he's Netanyahu's best ally. 70% of Jewish voters in America voted for Kamala Harris. And that's about what Democrats get every 4 years. So if they're making political calculations inside the White House, him stepping up and speaking out certainly would not hurt his standing in the polls. It wouldn't hurt his standing politically. There may be a lot of grumbling on the inside, but we've seen that with the Epstein files as well. And Donald Trump's continued to do what he's done, and he's stayed at 88, 89% among the Republican Party members.
Yeah, and it wasn't that long ago President Trump was talking about Netanyahu doing whatever he had to do to, quote, finish the job. Remember, he was talking about turning Gaza into beachfront resort property. But, right. Richard, now he's talking about, quote, real starvation. He's criticizing Netanyahu for that. And you've heard, to John's point about MAGA, Marjorie Taylor Greene calling it genocide this week, the first Republican member of Congress to do that.
Yeah, these are all straws in the wind. It's not genocide. You can have a more serious conversation about war crimes. The president can do things. What he should not do, I would argue, Willie, is do what the British and French and Canadians are doing. To say you're going to have a Palestinian state, no, that's not the way to do it. You want Palestinians to earn it. You want Palestinians to say, here's the conditions we're prepared to sign up to. They've got to reassure Israel. At the end of the day, a Palestinian state cannot be imposed from the outside. So again, this is all signs that the world has grown weary with what Israel is doing in Gaza and increasingly opposes it. But the president has political standing in Israel that even Bibi Netanyahu doesn't have. If the president wants to move the needle in Gaza, he can do it. He can put pressure on Israel, not by declaring support for a Palestinian state unconditionally, but by pushing the Israelis to come up with a day after plan, to stop, to open up the area, Gaza to food aid, to stop new settlements in the West Bank. There's a lot of things this president can do if he really wants to get serious about promoting positive movement between Israelis and Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. So far, he's been reluctant to do it, but the opportunity, some would argue the necessity, is there.